MY Friends, let's get something clear right out the gate. If a man left you, walked away from you, or ghosted you, that ain't your fault. That's his loss. But here's the secret. Men always come back. Always, but only if you act like this. Men chase value, not desperation. This is a truth that doesn't get talked about enough. It's one of those things that, once you really understand it, shifts the entire way you look at relationships, especially romantic ones. When a man sees a woman who is operating from a place of confidence, who knows her worth, and who refuses to settle for less, he sees something valuable, something rare. But when a man sees desperation, when he senses that a woman is clinging, chasing, or begging for attention, the attraction starts to die, even if there was once real interest there. Men are wired to pursue. It's in our nature to go after what we want. But we don't want what's already trying too hard to get us. When something seems too easy or too available, it loses its shine. That's not because we're shallow or cruel. It's because value is always tied to rarity. Think about anything valuable in life: gold, diamonds, luxury cars. They're not sitting on every corner, easy to grab. They're rare. They require effort, commitment, and sometimes sacrifice. The same goes for a woman who knows her worth. Desperation, on the other hand, feels like pressure. It feels like someone trying to earn love rather than being confident that they deserve it. And when a woman starts doing too much to get a man's attention, texting over and over, adjusting her personality to keep him, letting disrespect slide just to avoid losing him, it sends a loud message: I don't think I'm enough. And the moment that message is received, something shifts. The man starts pulling away, not always intentionally. Sometimes it's subconscious, but he feels it, that loss of mystery, that loss of value. Now, let's be real. There's nothing wrong with wanting love. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be chosen, to be desired, to be seen. That's human. But how you go about getting that love makes all the difference. When a woman operates from a place of neediness, it's usually coming from a deeper place of insecurity. Maybe she's afraid of being alone. Maybe she's been abandoned before and doesn't want to feel that pain again. Maybe she doesn't fully believe she deserves something better. Whatever the reason, when that desperation shows, it pushes away the very thing she wants to hold on to. Value, on the other hand, is quiet. It's calm. It doesn't rush or beg or chase. It knows that if something is meant, it will stay, and if it's not, better will come. When a man sees a woman carrying herself with that energy, he takes notice. He starts wondering, what is it about her? Why isn't she sweating me like everyone else? That curiosity grows into attraction. That attraction grows into respect, and that respect turns into pursuit. You see, a man respects a woman who has options, even if she doesn't talk about them. He respects a woman who holds herself to a standard and doesn't lower it for anybody. And when she doesn't fold under pressure, when she doesn't let loneliness make her weak, he realizes she's not the kind of woman you play with. She's the kind you build with. Men are competitive by nature. We want to feel like we earned something, that we proved ourselves. When a woman makes it too easy, when she gives access without requiring effort, it takes away the chase. And when there's no chase, there's no challenge. And without challenge, there's no pride in winning. That's why the woman who holds her ground, who values her peace, her body, her time, she becomes a prize. It's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about alignment. It's about knowing what you bring to the table and refusing to shrink to fit someone else's appetite. It's about understanding that your presence, your energy, your love, all of that is a gift. And not everyone is qualified to receive it. Not everyone deserves access to it. When you walk in that truth, men can feel it. And the right one, he won't be turned off by it. He'll rise to meet it. There's a difference between being available and being easy. There's a difference between being kind and being desperate. A valuable woman knows the difference. She listens more than she explains. She observes more than she reacts. She doesn't need to convince a man to stay because she's too focused on being herself to chase someone who's unsure. And that energy, that's magnetic. That's the energy men return to. When a man walks away from a woman who is whole, who is full, who is standing tall in her worth, it's only a matter of time before he feels that loss. It might not hit him immediately. Maybe he's distracted. Maybe he thinks he'll find something better. But once the noise settles and he looks around, he realizes what he walked away from. And suddenly, her value becomes clear. Not because she begged him to come back, not because she convinced him, but because she never stopped being who she was. She didn't crumble. She didn't chase. She didn't lose herself trying to keep him. A man can't help but return to that kind of woman, not because she needs him, but because he finally realizes he needs her. And by the time he comes back, she might still be there, or she might have moved on. Either way, she wins, because her value never changed. Confidence is unforgettable. It's not about walking into a room and demanding attention. It's about walking in and not needing it. Confidence doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, and it doesn't chase. It just is. It's felt in your posture, your energy, your tone, your silence. And when a woman embodies real confidence, she leaves a mark that lingers long after she's gone. Men remember confidence because it stands out in a world full of people trying to prove themselves. Most people are trying to be liked, trying to fit in, trying to say the right thing or be the right version of themselves to be accepted. But when a woman walks into a room fully grounded in who she is, unapologetic about what she brings to the table, and uninterested in performing for approval, that woman becomes unforgettable, because confidence is rare. Not the loud kind that's hiding insecurity, but the quiet, powerful kind that says, I know who I am, and I don't need your validation to confirm it. A confident woman isn't arrogant. She's just whole. She doesn't compete. She doesn't compare. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't settle for crumbs because she knows she's the whole meal. And when a man meets a woman like that, it shifts something in him. He's not just attracted, he's intrigued. He starts to ask himself questions. How does she carry herself like that? What does she know that other women don't? Why do I feel like I've never met anyone like her? That's the power of real confidence. It doesn't force anyone to choose you. It makes them realize they don't want to miss the chance. Men remember the woman who didn't flinch when he pulled back. The woman who didn't blow up his phone when he stopped texting. The one who didn't panic or beg or lower herself to keep him interested. That woman didn't fold. She leaned into her power. She went about her life. She kept glowing, and that glow, that's what burns into his memory, because confidence is magnetic, and when a man feels it, he can't forget it. Confidence shows up in how you speak. It's in your boundaries. It's in your ability to say no without guilt, to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you, to smile without needing to be liked. A confident woman doesn't tolerate disrespect because she respects herself too much. She doesn't ask someone to choose her more than once. She knows that love isn't something to be earned by shrinking. It's something that's given freely when someone sees your worth. The reason confidence sticks with a man is because it leaves no doubt. He never has to wonder how you feel about yourself. He doesn't question whether you can stand on your own. And that kind of strength, it inspires. It makes him want to rise to your level. Because here's what people don't realize, that confidence challenges people. It holds up a mirror. It says, this is who I am. Can you meet me here? Men may be used to attention, praise, even flattery, but when they meet a woman who doesn't offer any of that, just to keep him around, it resets the game. It makes them realize this isn't someone who's trying to be chosen. This is someone who chooses herself first. And that shifts the dynamic. That changes the energy. Suddenly, the man realizes that he's the one trying to measure up. Confidence also shows up in how a woman deals with rejection. She doesn't break down if something doesn't work out. She doesn't internalize it. She doesn't go into a spiral wondering what's wrong with her. She sees it for what it is, a closed door that wasn't meant to open. She stays in motion, keeps moving forward. That grace, that resilience, it's unforgettable because anyone can be pretty when things are going well. But how a woman handles adversity, that's what people remember. Men watch how you respond when things don't go your way. They watch how you carry yourself when you're not getting attention. They watch how you speak about yourself, how you speak about others, how you move when no one's clapping. And when they see a woman who moves with poise and self-belief, no matter who's watching, they remember her. Confidence is what makes you stand out in a man's memory. Not your looks, not what you wore, not even what you said. It's how you made him feel in your presence. And a confident woman makes people feel like they're in the presence of someone who doesn't need anything, but who chooses to give, to show up, to connect on her terms. That kind of presence doesn't fade. It doesn't get replaced easily. A man may meet someone who looks good, who says the right things, who plays the game well, but he'll still remember the one who didn't play at all. the one who was real, grounded, and sure of herself. Because confidence doesn't chase love, it attracts it. And once a man experiences that kind of energy, it lingers in his mind long after she's gone. Purpose attracts more than pursuit. When a woman lives her life with purpose, she becomes powerful in a way that most people don't understand. She's not just going through the motions or waiting for someone to choose her or make her feel whole. She's waking up with intentions, moving with direction. She's focused on something bigger than attention, validation, or relationships. That kind of focus creates gravity. It pulls people in without trying. Because when a woman is in alignment with her purpose, she doesn't have to chase anything. What's meant for her comes naturally. A purposeful woman isn't lost in distractions. She's not sidetracked by every text message or late night call. She's not rearranging her whole life to make space for someone who hasn't earned her time. She's not glued to her phone waiting to see if someone's thinking about her. She's building something. She's learning, growing, developing, and chasing dreams that light her up from the inside. And when she's on that path, she doesn't have to ask for respect. She commands it. She doesn't have to ask for love. She embodies it. People notice when someone is doing something that matters. You can feel it. You walk differently when you have a goal. You speak with more power when you're connected to a vision. You're less likely to tolerate nonsense because you simply don't have time for it. And that mindset, that clarity, is that momentum. It's magnetic. Men sense that. They're drawn to it because being around someone who knows who they are and where they're going is inspiring. It makes them want to do better, be better, rise higher. There's a big difference between pursuing someone and walking in your purpose. A pursuit can feel desperate when it's done from a place of emptiness. When a woman is constantly seeking love to fill a void, when she's chasing men to feel seen, when she's doing everything just to be chosen, it wears her down. It chips away her spirit. But when she steps back and reconnects with her purpose, whether that's her career, her passion, her calling, or simply becoming the best version of herself, she becomes a force. Purpose gives life meaning beyond relationships. It reminds a woman that she's already enough, that she doesn't need to be picked to be valuable, that her life has depth, substance, and direction whether someone is by her side or not. And that self-sufficiency, that fire, that focus, that's what makes her stand out. That's what draws people in. Not because she's trying to impress anyone, but because she's lit from within. A woman living in her purpose isn't worried about timelines or pressure. She's not rushing to lock someone down. She's not bending to meet expectations that don't match her vision. She's not afraid to walk alone if it means staying true to her path. She's not performing for love. She's preparing for greatness. And that preparation, that discipline, that quiet hustle, it speaks volumes. It says, I'm not here to be saved. I'm building my own. Men are naturally drawn to women who move like that because it's not something they see every day. They're used to being chased, flattered, entertained. But when they meet a woman who's not interested in playing games, who's not adjusting herself to fit in, who's deeply invested in her mission, something shifts. They go from thinking, oh, she's pretty, to thinking she's powerful. And once that switch flips, she's no longer just an option. She becomes unforgettable. Men are naturally drawn to women who move like that because it's not something they see every day. They're used to being chased, flattered, entertained. But when they meet a woman who's not interested in playing games, who's not adjusting herself to fit in, who's deeply invested in her mission, something shifts. They go from thinking she's pretty to thinking she's powerful. And once that switch flips, she's no longer just an option. She becomes unforgettable. Being on purpose also protects a woman from being consumed by relationships that don't serve her. She doesn't lose herself trying to fit someone else's life because she's too committed to building her own. She doesn't settle for being someone's maybe because she knows she's worth more than confusion. Her goals filter out the nonsense. If someone isn't adding to her life, they don't get access to her energy. It's not personal. It's just intentional. Purpose sharpens your instincts. It clears your vision. It helps you recognize who's for you and who's just a distraction. And once you get in that flow, once you're locked in on something that matters to you, you realize how many things you used to chase that were never worthy of you in the first place. You start protecting your time, your peace, your space. And in doing that, you start attracting people who value you for the right reasons. When a man sees a woman who's fully in her lane, doing what she loves, focused on her growth, not chasing, not begging, not folding, he starts to wonder what it would take to be part of that world. Not because she asked him to, but because the energy she brings is undeniable. She's no longer asking to be loved. She's choosing how she loves herself. And that choice changes everything. Men respect a woman who is going somewhere. They respect a woman who's not waiting around for life to happen, but who is creating her own future. That kind of drive, that sense of destiny, is rare. It makes people stop and look. It makes people reconsider. It makes people want to catch up. Because purpose doesn't just attract love, it attracts everything aligned with your growth. Healing is more powerful than begging. When someone walks away from you, when they stop calling, when they lose interest, your first instinct might be to try to fix it, to hold on tighter, to chase after the feeling you once had. You might feel like if you say the right thing, send the right message, show them how much you care, you can bring it all back. That's the begging mindset, trying to hold on to something that's slipping away, thinking if you just do more, give more, bend more, you can save it. But the truth is, that kind of energy drains you. It chips away at your dignity. It puts your power in someone else's hands. Healing, on the other hand, is quiet. It's private. It's strong. It's the choice to take your pain and do something with it. It's the moment when you stop trying to convince someone of your worth and start reminding yourself of it. Healing doesn't always feel good at first. It's not always graceful. Sometimes it looks like crying on the floor at night, journaling things you wish you could say, walking around with a smile nobody knows is fake. But even in those moments, something sacred is happening. You're choosing to face the pain rather than escape it. You're choosing to rebuild yourself from the inside out. When you beg, you stay stuck in the story. You relive the loss. You give it power. You keep it alive by feeding it your energy, your time, your hope. You keep waiting for a response, a change of heart, a sign that maybe they'll come back. And every time they don't, you get pulled deeper into that cycle. But healing breaks the cycle. Healing is when you start closing the chapter, even if you never got the closure you wanted. It's when you say, this hurts, but I'm not going to let it define me. It's when you start taking your power back, piece by piece. There's a kind of strength and healing that no one can see. It's not loud or dramatic. It's not about showing the world you're okay. It's about getting to a place where you actually are. Not because someone came back and made it right, but because you chose to make yourself whole. That choice is powerful. It's rare, and it creates a new energy around you, one that people feel, one that says, I've been through something, but it didn't break me. That kind of energy is what makes people stop and take notice. That's the energy that people remember. Begging comes from a place of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, fear that no one else will come. But fear is a liar. It makes you settle for less than you deserve. It convinces you that the person who left is the only one who'll ever love you. But when you choose to heal, you stop operating from fear. You start moving in faith. You start believing that better is out there, even if you haven't seen it yet. You start trusting that your story isn't over just because someone else chose to exit. Healing also teaches you how to set boundaries. When you've been broken and put yourself back together, you don't let people come and go so easily anymore. You don't entertain disrespect disguised as love. You don't make excuses for bad behavior. You value your peace, your space, your energy. You learn to protect it. And in doing so, you raise your standards. You make it clear that if someone wants to be in your life, they have to come correct. There's a glow that comes with healing, a confidence that doesn't come from being chosen, but from choosing yourself. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you say no without guilt, the way you walk away from what doesn't serve you, even if it hurts. That glow doesn't come from someone else loving you. It comes from loving yourself through the process, from deciding you're worthy of joy, of peace, of a love that doesn't leave you guessing. People can feel that shift. The ones who once overlooked you, who didn't value you, they start to notice something different. Maybe they reach out again. Maybe they try to come back. But by the time that happens, you've grown. You've healed. You're not the same person who used to beg. You're stronger, wiser, more rooted in who you are. And that transformation, that's what makes you unstoppable. Healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about learning from it. It's about taking the pain and using it to build a deeper relationship with yourself. It's about choosing peace over chaos, choosing growth over comfort, choosing to let go of what hurt you so you can make room for what's meant for you. When you make that choice, everything starts to shift. You begin attracting people who see your worth, not because you screamed it, but because you lived it. You stop chasing closure and start creating clarity within yourself. You stop waiting for an apology and start giving yourself permission to move forward. Silence is more powerful than reaction. In a world where everyone is quick to respond, quick to clap back, quick to prove their point, silence is a language of its own. It speaks without raising its voice. It communicates strength without needing to show aggression. When a woman learns to master her silence, she learns how to hold her power. Because not every disrespect needs a response, not every insult deserves your energy, and not every situation requires you to explain yourself. People often mistake silence for weakness. They assume that if you're not saying something, you must not have anything to say. But that's where they're wrong. Silence isn't about not having words. It's about choosing not to waste them. It's about knowing that your peace is more valuable than proving a point. It's about understanding that your dignity isn't up for debate, and you don't need to engage with anything or anyone that tries to pull you out of character. When someone pulls back, plays games, disrespects you, or disappears, your silence is louder than any emotional outburst. It tells them, I saw what you did, but I'm not entertaining it. It says, you don't have that kind of power over me. And that unsettles people because most expect a reaction. They expect a confrontation. They expect you to fight for their attention or beg for their time. But when you respond with silence, you shift the dynamic. You let them sit with their actions. You let them feel your absence. You create space, and in that space, they realize what they lost. Silence gives you control. When you react out of emotion, you often give your power away. You say things you don't mean. You act from hurt. You make decisions from pain. But when you choose silence, you choose reflection. You choose strategy. You give yourself time to feel, to process, to decide what's best for you, not what will get the last word. And that's when you move with intention, not impulse. A woman who knows how to be silent when it matters is a woman who knows her worth. She doesn't explain her standards. She doesn't argue about her value. She doesn't lower herself just to be heard. She understands that walking away in silence says more than 1,000 words ever could. Because when you leave a situation without chaos, without drama, without a scene, you leave with your crown intact. Men remember the woman who didn't react. They remember the woman who didn't chase after them when they pulled away. The one who didn't blow up their phone, didn't send paragraphs, didn't beg for closure. They remember the one who, when disrespected, simply went quiet and disappeared. That kind of silence hits different. It lingers. It makes a man reflect because it leaves room for him to hear his own thoughts without your voice over them. It lets him feel the weight of his actions without distraction. And that space creates clarity. It makes him realize what he took for granted. Silence also teaches people how to treat you. When you don't respond to disrespect, not because you're weak, but because you're uninterested, it sends a message. It tells them you won't be baited into drama. You won't entertain foolishness. You're not emotionally available for anything less than what aligns with your peace. And over time, people learn that if they want access to you, they have to come correct. They have to approach with respect, with intention, with honesty, because anything less won't even get a reaction. It's not easy to be silent. It takes discipline. It takes self-control. It takes knowing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all, especially when you know you could say something that would hurt, that would cut deep, that would prove your point. But silence isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook. It's about choosing peace over petty, freedom over frustration, power over pettiness. There's a reason why silence feels so loud, because in that quiet, all the truth surfaces. Without the noise, people have to face themselves. And often your silence triggers more reflection in others than your words ever could. They start to ask questions. Why didn't she respond? Did I push her too far? Is she really gone? And those questions stay with them long after the moment has passed. Silence is your reset. It's where you recharge. It's where you reconnect with your inner strength. It's not avoidance. It's alignment. It's not running away, it's rising above. You don't need to engage in every battle to prove you're strong. Sometimes strength is knowing which battles aren't worth your breath. A woman who can sit in silence, who can be still in her pain, who can resist the urge to react, is a woman who's in control of herself. She's not controlled by her emotions. She's not swayed by outside pressure. She's not desperate to be heard because she already knows her truth. And when you carry that kind of energy, you become unshakable. You walk differently. You attract differently. You protect your peace at all costs. And that makes people think twice before bringing chaos to your doorstep. But when a woman respects herself, she doesn't give from emptiness. She gives from strength, from clarity. She's generous, but she's not a Marty. She's kind, but she's not a pushover. She's loving, but she's not going to abandon herself just to be loved by someone else. That kind of energy is powerful. It's rare, and it stands out in a world where too many people are taught that self-sacrifice is the highest form of love. Love built on self-sacrifice can quickly turn into resentment. You start feeling like you're doing everything and getting nothing, like your love is a burden instead of a blessing. But love built on self-respect creates balance. It creates a space where two people bring their best to the table, not because they're trying to prove their worth, but because they already know it. That kind of love is sustainable. That kind of love grows. Self-respect is attractive because it creates boundaries. And boundaries are what keep relationships healthy. They're not walls to keep people out. They're gates to let the right people in. People who respect your time, your heart, your standards. People who aren't intimidated by your strength, but inspired by it. Because when you have self-respect, you're not afraid to be alone. You're not rushing to fill a void. You're willing to wait for someone who matches your energy. And that patience, that peace, that's what sets you apart. A lot of people lose themselves in relationships because they think being chosen means being worthy. So they overextend, overgive, overstay. They make sacrifice after sacrifice, hoping that one day it'll be enough. But someone who truly values you doesn't want you to sacrifice yourself. They want you to shine, to grow, to be your full self. And if someone needs you to shrink just to stay, that's not love, that's control. When a woman walks in self-respect, she becomes her own standard. She doesn't wait for someone to tell her who she is. She defines it for herself. She doesn't need to be rescued, validated, or saved. She's already chosen herself. And that energy is hard to ignore. It creates a presence, a quiet confidence, a grace that doesn't need approval. Men return to that kind of woman, not because she begged, not because she chased, but because her self-respect spoke louder than her sacrifice ever could. Because she walked away without making a scene. Because she chose peace over pain. Because she chose herself. And that choice makes people think. It makes them remember. It makes them realize what they lost when they thought could play with someone who knew their worth. Self-respect is the foundation for every healthy relationship. Without it, love turns into survival, into performing, into constantly questioning yourself. But with it, love becomes a partnership, a choice, a shared experience rooted in mutual value. When you respect yourself, you stop trying to prove your place in someone's life. You wait to see if they deserve a place in yours. You become intentional, selective, powerful. And that's when you attract not just attention, but alignment. High standards create emotional gravity. When a woman has high standards, she creates a pull around her that makes people pay attention. It's not just about being picky or hard to impress. It's about having a clear sense of self-worth. She knows who she is, what she wants, and what she refuses to accept. That certainly creates an energy that commands respect. It's not forceful, it's not aggressive, but it's firm, it's consistent, and it draws people in, especially those who are used to being in control, because now they've met someone who can't be easily moved. There's a difference between being high maintenance and having high standards. High maintenance is about surface things, appearance, attention, validation. High standards are about deeper things. Character, respect, emotional availability, consistency. A woman with high standards doesn't need constant praise or flashy gestures. What she wants is integrity. What she values is effort. What she demands is honesty. She's not impressed by words unless they match actions. And she's not swayed by charm if it lacks substance. And she's not afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't align with what she knows she deserves. There's a difference between being high maintenance and having high standards. High maintenance is about surface things, Appearance, attention, validation. High standards are about deeper things: character, respect, emotional availability, consistency. A woman with high standards doesn't need constant praise or flashy gestures. What she wants is integrity. What she values is effort. What she demands is honesty. She's not impressed by words unless they match actions. She's not swayed by charm if it lacks substance. And she's not afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't align with what she knows she deserves. That's where emotional gravity comes in. When you hold yourself to a certain level, it changes how people approach you. They either rise to meet your standard or fall away. And that's exactly how it should be. Because the people who truly see your value won't be intimidated by your expectations. They'll be inspired by them. They'll want to show up better, do better, be better. Not out of pressure, but out of respect, out of admiration. Out of the pool you create by refusing to lower yourself for temporary attention. A lot of women fear having high standards because they think it'll scare people away, and it might. But the ones who leave when faced with your standards were never meant to stay. They weren't interested in loving the real you. They were interested in what they could get from you. And when they realized they couldn't manipulate you, couldn't walk all over you, couldn't meet you halfway, and still get the full benefit, they moved on. Let them. Because your standards aren't meant to attract the masses. They're meant to filter out what isn't for you. High standards teach people how to treat you. They communicate your value without you having to say a word. They show that you're not desperate for attention, not hungry for validation, and not looking to be saved. You're already whole. You're already grounded. And that makes people step carefully. It makes them approach with more thought, more care, more intention, because they know you won't tolerate half-heartedness. You won't accept inconsistency. You won't entertain anything that doesn't feel like respect. Men feel that emotional gravity. It pulls on them long after you've left the room. They might not be able to explain it, but they remember how you made them feel. They remember the strength in your silence, the calm in your presence, the power in your standards. And if they weren't ready for it the first time, they'll think about it. Because a woman like that doesn't come around often. A woman who knows her worth, who walks in it, who doesn't bend just to be kept. That woman leaves an impact. High standards don't mean perfection. They mean you've learned from your pain. You've grown through your disappointments. You've come to understand that being chosen isn't the goal. Being respected is. Being at peace is. Being aligned is. So you're no longer impressed by someone's potential if their actions don't match. You're no longer interested in relationships that drain you, confuse you, or make you question yourself. You're focused on clarity, consistency, and connection. And here's the thing, men return to women who made them feel something they couldn't forget. And often, that feeling comes from your standards, from the way you held space for love, but not nonsense, from the way you showed compassion without compromising yourself, from the way you expected effort and gave it in return. That balance is rare. That emotional maturity is rare. And once someone's experienced it, it sticks with them. Some people will test your standards. They'll push your boundaries just to see if you really mean what you say. And that's your moment to show them this isn't a game. This isn't a negotiation. This is who I am. This is how I love. And if that's too much for you, you're not enough for me. That kind of clarity isn't cruel, it's kind, because it spares you the confusion, the pain, and the disappointment of trying to force something that doesn't fit. Having high standards isn't about waiting for someone perfect. It's about being willing to wait for someone real, someone who values you the way you value yourself, someone who doesn't see your standards as a threat, but as a guide. A man who's emotionally grounded, secure, and intentional will not only respect your standards, he'll rise to meet them. And if he's not ready now, he'll remember you. He'll remember how you made him think, how you made him reflect, how you made him feel like he had to grow up to love a woman like you. That's emotional gravity. That's what makes the right ones return.